Hail to the Chief. When do they play it? When the president walks out. I'm 12 years old. I'm in my living room. I'm watching this man come out to that song, and everybody just jumps to their feet. And I'm thinking to myself, I gotta have that job. That job is for me. So I'm 12 years old. I get this clear vision in my mind that I'm gonna become President of the United States. Now, let me ask you, when I showed up and people said, Sean, what do you wanna be when you grow up? Do you think when I said President of the United States, they go, you can do that? 3 feet tall in a wheelchair? That's in the cards. 12 years old, vision in my mind, be President of the United States. I did a little research, see, because I found out I had some time. You gotta be 35. I realized also I gotta learn a little bit about geography, right? A little bit about humanity, a little bit about ecology, economics. You gotta learn how to pay people off. The clappers just showed what party they're from. Anyway. 12 years old. Clear vision in my mind. Time went on. And as I got older, I thought, if I'm going to work in the White House, live in the White House, then I got to get closer to the White House. I got to get a job for the president and check out the decorating of the place. I got to see if I would move any of the furniture around. So I applied when I got to college. I became a student of political science. And I applied to work at the White House as a direct liaison to the president. And I remembered the day that envelope showed up to tell me whether or not I got the position. And I don't know about you, but I'm guessing if I know anything about you, you've had a moment in your life where an important piece of mail showed up, and in that envelope changed the course of your life. Raise your hand if you've had that envelope moment in your life. Many of us have. Maybe it's a phone call. It's that moment where life is either going to go this way or it's going to go that way. And I'm holding that envelope. And I put it up to my nose, like my nose is going to tell me something. Oh, yeah. I open it up. Simple letterhead. Just in blue letters, the White House. Congratulations, Sean Stephenson. You've been selected to work alongside of the President of the United States. You will be reporting for duty in 2 months. We look forward to seeing you. That 12-year-old boy started getting closer to that vision of what he wanted. I remember the first day I showed up for my job. And I'm going up and down the halls thinking to myself, John F. Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Some of the most powerful people in history have been here. I wouldn't put that painting there. I would not do that. I was so excited. Now I'm even closer to my vision. Now, there was a lot of neat things that happened while working at the White House for me that time. What I really loved, though, was watching the president come home from being overseas. See, when he would come home from being overseas, he would land at Andrews Air Force Base in Air Force One, and then he wouldn't just show up to the house like you and I would in our SUV or minivan. No, he showed up in a helicopter in the backyard. And we're not just talking like a little touring helicopter. We're talking about something the size of a school bus, okay? And it's dark green. It's got a bright white stripe at the top and 2 giant propellers and a big American flag on the back. And it's called Marine One. Could it be any more macho? Marine One. And it lands in the backyard. And I thought one day, you know what, Sean? I think you should be outside when the president comes home. You should be outside when the helicopter lands and greet him. I mean, what could go wrong? Don't get ahead of me. I had my moment. I looked at the president's schedule. I looked at my fake schedule. I lined them up properly. I looked around for my superior. Not there. Took my fake errand, put it under my arm, and headed out because I could hear off in the distance the helicopter's coming. And I'm strolling down to the White House South Lawn entrance, and I am at the doors, and no one is around, and I can hear the helicopter getting closer, and the doors are closed. And there's not that handicap button. Do you know the button I'm talking about? Yeah, you think it's for like when you're holding a lot of pizza, you can bump it with your butt. It's not for that. Oh, and while I'm on the topic, the handicap bathroom is not your personal dressing room. That stall is for people like me. Anyway, and handicap parking is not short-term parking. I digress. Anyway, so, man, you guys will clap for like a tin pot. Anyway, so here I am, and the doors are closed. I can hear the helicopter. I'm like, this is it. Sean, you need to get through these doors. There's a 12-year-old boy inside of me, right? The kid with the vision sees through the doors. And I'm thinking, you are a man. You are in college. You have the intellect to get through these doors. So I realized something. I have physics on my side. All right? I am 45 pounds of love. And I am looking at that door like a football player. Like, what? You got nothing. And I am like beating on my chest like, come on, you got nothing. And I back up to get a little bit of momentum started, right? And I'm like looking at the door like, you feeling it, punk? You feeling it? And then I took off and I just, bam, these doors flew open. Now, what I didn't expect was the amount of wind coming at me. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, and I am fighting this wind, and I am pushing, and I am huffing, I'm puffing, and I get outside, and I'm like, it wasn't that bad. You know, when you get through something major, and you're like, I don't know what I was all worried about. So I'm outside, the helicopter is landing, and I see something out of the corner of my left eye. A lone tree rocking in a different direction than all the other trees. And I look closer. And I see 12 men climbing down ropes and running at me. And I look even closer and I see that they're carrying submachine guns. And then I look down at my chest and I see little red laser dots. Well, I am glad you find that funny. I did not. And I am looking at these guards. I am thinking, the president knows me, right? The president knows me. These guards don't, okay? Just so we're clear who these guards are, they aren't even Secret Service. This is if you foil the Secret Service. They're called the Emergency Response Team. They shoot with no questions. I am looking at these guys. I am looking at the helicopter. Now, if you're not very perceptive, I can't run. And I look at the helicopter. I'm like, ah! And I am just looking. Ah! The helicopter door opens. The president steps out, and he looks at me. And that's when I learned that you better have a vision for what you want. You better have very clear in your mind what you want for your life, what you want for your family, what you want for your business. So many of us never take the time We don't see the value in truly shaping and molding pictures in our mind of what we want our life to look like. We think that's a waste of time. We think that's woo-woo. We think that's like the movie The Secret. Listen, seriously, there is something to vision, because you are going to face moments in your life when the doors will be closed. If a door is closed, does that mean you are not allowed to have what's on the other side? I don't believe so. Sometimes you're going to have people and events feel like that they're chasing after you, barreling down on you. Does that mean what you want's not for you? I don't believe so. I believe you showed up here because whether it's clear or not for you yet, you have somewhat of a vision for what you'd like to have. And this is just a means to an end. You're here to learn about how to grow your business, how to put more money into your pockets and into your families and into your dreams. But more important than your business is I want you to set up a clear vision for what you want for you, for your life. Because if a person does not have their vision clear, and they constantly get blown around by the winds of life, they're grabbing for straws, they're just chasing something. Get very clear. What does your life look like 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? Did you know that in 10 years, the year will be 2020? I love that. What's perfect vision? 2020 is what we're looking for. You want to set your perfect 2020 vision before you go to bed tonight. Set 3 things that you want in your life in 2020 that you know you do not have right now. Because when we set 1-year goals, I think that's important. Oftentimes discouraging them. Because things take time. You know, you plant a seed, it doesn't grow overnight. However, when you work on something and you give yourself an ample space to let it grow, as if by magic, one day it's there and you go, how come it's not been there my whole time? Well, it was growing. And in this presentation, the time that I have with you, I want you to grow. And I want you to listen with 2 ears. That's why we have 2 ears. The first ear is I want you to think about how can I relate this to dealing with customers and clients and interactions from a business perspective. How is this good for me to be able to relate to people, to be able to increase rapport, to be able to create an atmosphere where people trust me and want to do business with me? That's one ear. But the other ear is, how can this material be of benefit to my family, to my children, to my friends, to my lover, to myself? All business problems are really just personal problems. When you take care of yourself, things naturally work. And so in this time that we have together, let's work on listening with both ears. In the 14 years that I've been a speaker, I've noticed that there's 2 things that all human beings share in common. I would like to prove to you one of them in a little activity right now. Raise your hand if you've ever been happy. You don't have to be happy right now. Okay, put your hands down. Raise your hands if you've ever been sad. Okay, put your hands down. And raise your hand if you think you're sexy. I gotta break you some bad news, folks. I caught a lot of you looking around for approval on that one. It looks something like this. Am I sexy? I don't know, am I? I'll raise your hand, you can raise it. Seriously. Why did I do that? Because I want you to know we all share two things in common. This first thing is we all have emotions. Write that down. We all have emotions. Barring neurological dysfunction, and even then they might be under the surface, we just can't see them, we all have access to emotion. You know, I just came in when Preston was talking about how you have to use words that evoke emotion. Well, that's because we all have it. And I know we all have emotions because we've all knelt before graves and cried. We've all been on the other end of the phone and wondered if the person we're talking to really loves us. We've all had to look someone in the eye and tell them the scary truth. We've all looked at someone and thought, I don't know what it is about you, but I'd like to spend more time with you. Emotion, it drives us. And what I believe that I can do is I can teach you how to manage your emotions so that your emotions don't manage you. When your emotions manage you, you're on this roller coaster where, you know, if the day is good, then everything's great. And if something happens and the emotion goes bad, and then you go bad. And it's not that I'm going to teach you how to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Emotions sometimes take over. But the goal is to be observant that emotions are powerful. And how do you get control right after you notice that they have taken control? It's shortening that time of when you're managing versus being managed that matters. So we all share two things in common that I've noticed in spending all this time with human beings around the world. The first is we all have emotions, and the second thing that we all share is we all have a limiting force. It's this one component that it doesn't matter where in the world I go, how old somebody is, what nationality, what sexual orientation, how much money they have, what religion they are. It doesn't matter what their life circumstance is. They have this limiting force that if they allow it to take over, they are stuck. It's the size of their butt. I know what you're thinking. He did not just say that. I did. I am talking about your B-U-T. I would exercise and eat right, but there's no time. I would really grow my business, but it's so difficult. I would love my spouse, but you haven't met him, Sean. You don't know what I'm dealing with. We have 3 kinds of butts, and they all stink. Please write this down. We have our butt fears. And that always starts with, but what if? But what if I fail? But what if I look bad? But what if I disappoint them? But what if? It's having a negative prediction in your future, dictating your current interrelation with yourself, your inner emotional condition, your state. The second but that really holds us down is our but excuses. That always starts with, but I don't have the. But I don't have the. Time, money, energy, resources, background, whatever you put in there. It's what you believe you're lacking. That if you had it, everything would be fine. And then the last, and probably the most crippling, is our but insecurities. And our but insecurities take root when we use the following phrase. But I'm not. But I'm not tall enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not pretty enough. That's believing that you were born without. Other people got it, you didn't. It's not fair. Raise your hand if you've ever been on one of these three butts. If you didn't raise your hand, you're the biggest butt in the room. And as a therapist, I've been a therapist now going on 10 years. People pay me big sums of money to sit down and spend an entire 15-hour session, 15 hours in a row with me, to try to convince me that their butt is important, that their butt is real, that their butt is their best friend. And do not make them get off their butt. They don't want to, they can't, they're not sure, they really love how cushy and soft. Here's what it looks like when you are stuck on your butt. I'm going to give you an example. When you're on your butt, it feels so good. Yeah, you just stretch out. You're on your butt. And when you're on your butt, everyone knows it. But you. And so you're on your butt and you're so cushy. And it feels so good. There's no energy being extended. It's easy to be on your butt. It's effortless. You're just on your butt and you begin to atrophy. You get weaker. And the paradox to life isn't that you can't see what you want. You see it. You haven't lost your vision. You can hear it. You just don't have the strength to get up and go after it. So that multi-million-dollar lifestyle passes you by. The person that you wanted to date or marry never even looks at you. The friends you always wanted to have, they wouldn't allow you to join their group. And that body that you always dreamed of running down the beach in, that definitely doesn't show up. And all the while you think, that's okay, I got my butt. I didn't really want that. I'm happy here. No, you're not. No one truly is happy on their butt. They might be comfortable, but comfort and happiness aren't necessarily the same thing, are they? I believe that there is an alternative. I do not believe you were born to stay stuck on your butt. There is another way. Would you like to learn the other way? Yes. Let's see. So, in order to get off your butt, what does one have to do? Stand. They have to take a stand. It takes strength to stand. It takes effort to stand. It takes changing your perspective to stand. And you will stick out when you stand. Amongst every sea of people, all that sea of people that are stuck on their butts, you take a stand, you will get noticed. You can take a stand for anything you want in your life. You can say, that's it, I'm done. I'm taking a stand for my health. Today, I start my exercise regime. I am hiring a fitness trainer. I am making this happen. You can take a stand for your health. You can say, that's it, in my career, I'm taking a stand. I'm not going to spend that 4.2 hours that the rest of America watches a day of television. I'm going to work on my business. And I don't know when that amount of money will show up, and I'm not worried. I'm just going to work on my business, do what it takes, and move in that direction. You could take a stand for your family. You know, instead of tonight going out with the guys, instead of going out with the girls, we're going to have dinner at home, and maybe if your kids are young, we're going to have a sleepover in the living room, and we're going to talk about what's going on in their school. Or maybe you take a stand for your relationship, and you say, tonight, we're not going to dinner and a movie. Tonight, we're taking a walk. And I want to know what's going on with you in your life right now. And I know I've not been present, and I've been thinking and worrying and scared. But I want to be here for you. I don't know what it is for you. I just know that if you take a stand, your life will get better. It'll take time. And if you have the patience, it will get better. Because when you take a stand, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't get better overnight. But the long-term future is always better. But when you're on your butt, you get immediate gratification, and it feels good now. So you have to ask yourself a question. Do I want to feel good over time, or do I want to feel good now? Because if you just want to feel good now, you will be a creature of gratification versus a student of fulfillment. So I want to be your trainer. I want to teach you how to stand. Interesting. But I believe that standing comes from a spiritual place. It comes from an emotional place. It comes from within. So you can think of the lessons that I have to share with you today as our standing lessons. Are you ready for your first standing lesson? All right. The first standing lesson is something that I learned from being a speaker all these years. I would notice presenters come up on stage after stage before me, and I would see that some would just captivate people. They would bring them into a private world, and it's like they were able to come through and disconnect them from their lives and just bring them into the moment. And I thought, I want to create that on stage. And then there were some presenters that just caused people to nod off or people to feel uncomfortable and not feel close. And I thought, what's going on here? What's the difference between the two? It comes down to how we interact. We have a choice. Option number one that we've been taught ever since we were kids in school. It's a lower vibration. It's the starting place. It's not where we want to end up. You can write this down, though. The first way you can interact with people is to communicate. And communication is an exchange of only information. Communication is an exchange of information. Our BlackBerries can communicate. They're not alive. Our cell phones, our computer systems. It takes no soul or spirit to communicate. It only takes an exchange of data. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and they're exchanging data and maybe they're a genius, but man, you just were looking at your watch, you wanted to get out of there. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, there was just communication going on there. There's another level. And that is the level of connection. And connection is an exchange of humanity. It's about actually looking into someone's eyes and caring about them. It's about asking yourself the question, what must their life be like? I wonder what they're going through. It's about detaching from your ego, your problems. It's so easy to get caught up in the drama of just my problems, my problems. I know there's things out there called people, but it's not a... If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're really far gone. The people next to you, I want you to look at them right now and poke them. Do it now. Poke them. Okay? Now poke them and go, oh, you're really there. The people around you are more similar than you realize. Why? Because what was the first thing that we all share in common? Emotions, we all have emotions. And when you connect, you exchange emotions. You exchange emotions that feel good. You know, I started speaking to little kids, kindergartners. Kindergartners understand how to connect. It's about making somebody feel loved, wanted, cared for. Can we connect with strangers, yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we have this programming that, oh, you got to know somebody for years to really care about them. Do you know how much I care about you? I love you more than you love yourself. How do I know that? Because I'm a therapist. I see how hard you are on yourself. And you're the achievers on the planet. You're the ones that are willing to take a day out of your life to work on some category called business, some category that can lead to a better quality life. You're head and shoulders over most people. And yet I know you're still hard on yourself. So I want to be able to improve the connections that we have with each other. So let's do an activity. I need a volunteer. This is what I love about you guys. Like, this is a hardcore group. All right, you want to come on up here? All right, let's give them a round of applause. You know, before I was in a relationship, I used to say, look, I need a volunteer. She needs to be hot and single. But anyway. All right, so your name, Toby? Toby, yeah. Yeah, we met last night at the pool. You guys see me dance at the pool? It was outrageous. Anyway, Toby, have you ever hugged someone? Yes, I have. Okay, raise your hand if you ever hugged someone. Okay, perfect. You all did it wrong, okay? The blood in your body doesn't just flow one direction, okay? It flows many directions. But yet, most of us, we hug only in one direction. We get left out of balance. So what we're going to do is we're going to hug left to left and then right to right. Now watch closely, okay? Left to left. Everybody say, ah. Then right to right. Ah. All right, it's called balanced hug, right? We add balance. It's just one little extra step that goes to the next level of connection. So I want everybody to stand up and give a balanced hug to the person on your left and right, and then sit back down. Thank you, Toby. Yeah, right? Thanks, brother. All right, go sit back down. It's not an excuse to go to the bathroom. I have some bad news to break, you guys. Looks like some of you haven't been touched in a while. I'm not here to work on that, folks, but seek a professional. Anyway, what just happened? What we did is we went from a room of individuals, maybe competitors, maybe friends. What are we? Are we in this seminar together? Are we working on our lives or our business? To, humanity. Welcome home. The people next to you are more like you than you realize. They don't have to be your age. They don't have to be your color, your height, your gender, any of that. But they share emotions. And we went from a room of individuals to a unified group, to the power of connection. So our first standing lesson is, we must connect with others. And connection with others is a beautiful thing. And the better you get at it, the higher value you place on connecting with others, the rest of your life will somehow get better. Because people will want to do business with you. People will want to date you. People will want to become your friend because you're now thinking, there's other people out there. They have emotions too. But there's also somebody very important you need to connect with in this room as well. You need to become best friends with someone in this room. And this person is sitting in your chair. I need your help in finishing this phrase. If you can't say something nice, yet we think that only has to deal with when we're talking to other people. What about how we talk to ourselves? How connected are we with ourselves? I believe you are so hard on yourself that if you were as hard on your friends as you are on yourself, you wouldn't have any friends. And if you don't have any friends, you're there. We are so hard on ourselves. We say some of the meanest things. Would someone want to do business with you if you talk to them the way you talk to yourself right before you go into that opportunity? But you must connect with yourself. Because when you connect with yourself, connections with others seem to be a lot more effortless. So how do we connect to ourselves? Well, that brings us to our second standing lesson, and that is you must choose your words wisely. Speak to yourself with respect. Be mindful of your words. Those are all the same thing. You must treat yourself like a best friend. And the way you do that is how you speak to yourself internally. The words that you use. Words are so powerful. They're not just letters pushed together. They're actually packages of emotion. And what would happen if I kept mailing you packages of toxic waste? And you ran to the mailbox, and you're like, ooh, a package. And you open it up, and you're like, and then you survived that one. But a day later, you get another package from Sean. And you're like, what did Sean send me? And you open it up, and you're like, oh. And day after day, you're like, hey, Sean sent me more packages. And you're getting more and more toxic and sicker until finally you open that last package and it knocks you out. You're done. We do this with our words. When we use toxic words, it's no different than opening a toxic package. Deepak Chopra said it best. Your immune system is eavesdropping on your internal dialogue. And he's a medical doctor, folks. So we know, even with modern science, Western medicine even, is willing to look at the fact that what we say to ourselves has an impact. I learned the power of words when I was speaking to an audience a few years ago, and I saw this woman in the back of the auditorium, and she was taking copious notes, and this was at a school, and she was taking copious notes, and she had a big visitor's mom pass on. And after the program ended, she scooted out the back door, and I never got to meet her in person. But I did get a telephone call from her a few weeks later. I'd like to invite you in on that call. Sean? Yeah, what's going on? Sean, you don't know me, but I was recently in your audience, and I saw you up on stage. I saw you were so confident and powerful, and people looked up to you, yet you looked so... She paused, and I said, you thought I looked sexy, didn't you? I know. And she said, well, I was thinking you looked a little different. I mean, you're so tiny, and you're in that wheelchair. And yet people look up to you, and they see you as powerful. How do you do that? I said, I'm happy to tell you my super secret. Why is it important to you? My daughter, she was in the audience that day, and she's in 3rd grade. And she comes home every day from school crying because her classmates make fun of her. They call her weird and different. And I said, why is that? She said, well, my daughter was born with this rare condition where her fingers were grown together at birth, and her hands are webbed like frogs. She comes home every day crying. And I want to know, is there anything I can tell my daughter, anything I could do to make her feel good about herself? And before I could give it much thought, something just blurted out of me. I said, can I talk to your daughter? And she said, oh, that would be great. Let me go get her. She puts the phone down. Now, my heart is racing out of my chest. I'm thinking this girl is thousands of miles away. What are you going to tell her over the phone? Motivational man? Way to go! Now here, I have a question. See, when you volunteer to do something good, it sounds like a good idea. Case in point, have you ever said to a friend, I'll help you move into your new apartment? Sounds like a good idea. The day comes, you're carrying a couch, you think you're going to get crushed. Not fun. I am freaked out. I am nervous. I am insecure about what am I going to say to this girl. And then an adorable little voice came on the other end of the line. Hello. Hey, darling, how are you? I'm all right. Just all right? What's going on? My hands, they look like frogs. And people call me weird and different. I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready? Okay. When people meet you for the first time, do they remember you? Yeah. Everybody remembers me. So then you're not weird. You're not different. You're memorable. I am. I'm memorable. That's right, sweetheart. Cool. She handed her phone to her mom. This little girl proceeded to run around the house, screaming at the top of the lungs, I'm memorable, I'm memorable. Her mom got on the phone and said, what did you just do, my daughter? I said, call me back in a couple weeks and tell me how she's doing. Click. Between that phone call and when the mom called me back, I had a lot of time to think. I thought about all the words that we use when we're talking to ourselves. And I thought about how, we all have a little voice inside of our mind. It's that little voice that goes right now. It's thinking to yourself, it's saying, what voice? I don't have a voice. It's a little cold in here. I'm bloated. I wonder how long this seminar's going to go. It's that voice. And it's constantly talking to you. And it's chattering in the background. It's talking while you're talking. And it's talking to you when you're asleep, in your dreams and your nightmares. And it's like that voice, well, it's like it's a 5 to 7-year-old child. And what would happen if a 5 to 7-year-old child started to talk to you and you ignored it? Do you think the child, let's imagine a child wanted some ice cream. And the child comes up to you and tugs you on the sleeve. I want ice cream. And you thought, I have a brilliant idea. I shall ignore the child. And the child will go away. Raise your hands if you have children. Put your hands down. Raise your hand if you were a child. Put your hands down. Do children go away? No. What do children do? Children get more and more creative. They are the best marketers on the planet. They are persistent. Hey, I want ice cream, right? And they get poo-poo head, ice cream, and they start saying mean things. They start tearing you down. They try everything. This child lives in you. So how do we live with ourselves with that child? What I'm about to tell you will not feel good for a while, okay? You've been warned. What I'm about to tell you, you may not have signed up to listen to. This isn't about real estate, folks. Human beings, for the most part, the majority, when that voice gets to be too much, we choose very negative things to shut it up. And in the beginning, it doesn't seem like that bad. Some of us, what we do, we run to the kitchen, right? We run to the kitchen, and we open up the refrigerator, and there she is. Our beautiful favorite meal. Hello, precious. And then we go into this, like, sixth sense, ooh, you're going to get it tonight. And then you take it, and you place it, and you prepare it, or you heat it, or you freeze it, or you got to do it, and then you eat it, and it's like you numb that voice, and you just start to fill up your belly with blood, and you go back, and you just disconnect from yourself. Oh, but for some of you, no, food's not it, no. No, for some of you, you run to that cigarette break, right? And you go outside, and you're like frantic for your pack. I saw you out front of the Hyatt. Don't act like you don't know. And you got that pack, and you're it's like Gotham. You're like, hello, precious ring. And you open the cellophane, and you have it. And then all the non-smokers are looking at you in that disgusting face, and you're like, shut up. You don't know how good this feels, or you would be addicted to. But no. Some of you, no, that's not your thing. You run down to the Hyatt bar. Oh, yeah. You order yourself a little bit of liquid courage. And you get that, and you're like, Oh, but you just can't have one now, can you? No, you gotta have like 22. That's called laughter of recognition, folks. And why do we do that? Sometimes we do that, and sometimes we do it too much. We do it because we think, I can't handle that voice. I can't handle my life. I need to just disconnect. I need to just drown it. I need to just eat it. I need to drug it. Sometimes those measures aren't enough. Sometimes the voice gets so negative, so loud, so intrusive, that we think to ourselves, that's it. I'm going to shut this voice off for good. And we take our own life. And I don't want that for you. And I don't want that for your family, your friends, or your community. I don't want you to get to the point where you think that voice is in control of you, and so therefore you have to shut it off for good. That voice is not something to be afraid of. It's something to befriend. It's something to love. It's a 5 to 7-year-old child. Phone rang again. Several weeks had passed. I had worked with thousands of people. This time on the other end of the line, this woman is absolutely frantic. Sean, you will never believe this. Now, I get a lot of women panting on the other end of my phone. So I'm used to the scenario. I actually have a protocol. Shh. Relax. Shawnee is here. She said, Sean, you will never believe this. I said, what's going on? She said, my daughter is so confident now. I said, why? Because she marched into school. She went up to all of her classmates that were making fun of her, and she said, hey, I'm not weird. I'm not different. I'm memorable. And you're going to remember me for the rest of your life. So I ask you, could it really make that big of a difference to change just one word? From weird to memorable? You better believe it. And that's just one word. Think about all the words that you use when you talk to yourself. You know, studies show, I don't know how they do these studies, but studies show that we have up to 40,000 thoughts a day. And when we have these thoughts, we're talking to ourselves. And I ask you, do you think to yourself, I am important? Or no one really likes me? Do you go to the mirror and go, there you are, sexy beast? Or do you go, oh no, you again? Oh man, oh look at, that's not supposed to jiggle, oh man. What are you saying to yourself? Look, I could talk to you for hours, no, years, and my voice will never trump your own voice. You must speak to yourself with love. You must become your own best friend. You must connect with the most important person in your life, and that is you. Our next standing lesson is you must look for what's funny. You must ask yourself, what's funny about this? Raise your hand if in your life right now you're experiencing stress. Raise it up high. What? You too? I thought it was just me. Stress. It's energy built up inside of us. Some of you look so stressful, you're like stress balls. That I could just, you know those little, those balls that you can bounce like super balls, right? That's what you look like. Like I could just bounce you and you bounce off the wall, you're so stressed, tense. When they study animals, they have found that laughter releases tension. Here's the example. I am studying right, I'm actually, Preston gave me a bonus resume builder, which is not accurate. He said I'm already a PhD. I'm actually finishing my PhD. Everybody say, ooh. I know, right? So I'm finishing my PhD, and I'm studying human nature. I'm studying why laughter is important, and I'm reading about monkeys right now. And I'm reading about how when monkeys are being chased by a predator in the wild, one of them will get eaten. And all the other monkeys will scurry up the trees and watch this monkey get eaten. And they will laugh at that monkey being eaten. And I'm reading this study going, monkeys are sick. But what the study went on to say is that monkeys were so scared, they were holding on to all that tension. They were penting up inside of them. And then when they got out of harm's way, they had to release it through a sound that you and I call laughter. You think you're any different? How much is a movie ticket these days? $13, $10, right? You are paying when you go to a comedy to watch a monkey get eaten. I can't see any other explanation how Jerry Springer's still on the air. We're watching a monkey get eaten, and we're no different, right? We have stress. And when we get out of harm's way, we have to release it. I love the phrase, what's funny about this? Because it's going to be your trigger point. It's going to let you release that laughter. When I was in college, I also worked on Capitol Hill for my congressman. And I learned about the power of laughter. And one day I got to my job early and I had my hot tea and my newspaper. I just wanted to stretch out, just wanted to relax. I was very, very early, except my boss had beaten me to work. And he said, Sean, I need you to run an errand on the other side of the Capitol. No one's around yet, but I need you to go to the other side of the Capitol. Can you do that? I said, sure. Took the errand, I headed out. Went to part of the Capitol that I'd never been to. Got to the elevator bank. Never been on it. And one of the things is, if you haven't noticed, I'm not very tall. So I can't reach most elevator buttons. So I carry with me an elevator stick, also known as a back scratcher. And I press the button, and the doors open. I roll inside, the doors close behind me. I look on the panel of buttons for my floor. I press my floor. Except nothing happens. That's weird. I press it a little harder. Nothing happens. And then it dawns on me. I had gone into an elevator where on the outside the buttons were pressure sensitive, but on the inside they were heat sensitive. My elevator stick wasn't hot enough. So I asked myself this question, what would MacGyver do? If I had just had a stick of chewing gum and a tampon, I could make a bomb. Right? So I needed to heat up this elevator stick. So I was like, nothing. So my temperature starts getting hotter, right? And I'm thinking, okay, fine. All right, pretend that you're a kid again. This is the thermometer. Stick it under your armpit, Sean. Get your juices on it, right? And I'm getting my friction on. And finally, I press my elevator floor. Nothing happens. Then I did something. Something I'm not too proud of. Laughter of recognition. Do you want me to be honest with you guys, yes or no? Yes. Get ready. So I decided to sit on my elevator stick, and I am grinding this 45 pounds on my elevator stick. I'm like, who's your daddy? Oh, don't act like you haven't said it. And I press my elevator floor. What do you think happened? Nothing happened. So I asked myself a question. What's funny about this? Answer, nothing. Nothing was funny about that. So then I asked myself, what could be funny? I started thinking it was funny that I was trapped in a working elevator. Sometimes you gotta stretch this question. So I decided to take a break. I decided to read my newspaper, right? And finally, 45 minutes goes by, and the elevator wakes from its slumber. Somebody called it. The door's open. I head down to the maintenance department on a mission. Let somebody know they're trapping people. I get down to this place. I'm like, sir, excuse me. He barely looks up at me. He said, yeah? I said, you have elevators where on the outside the buttons are pressure sensitive. On the inside the elevators are heat sensitive. And my elevator stick couldn't be hot enough. And he looked back at me with the most condescending look. And he said, boy, they're not heat sensitive. They conduct an electrical current through your body. If you would have just had a little bit of tinfoil on the end of your elevator stick, you would have been fine. I looked at the man. And I said, who comes to work with tinfoil? Am I going to be in an elevator and be like, hey, everybody, want to bake a batch of brownies? What are you talking about? We burst into laughter. Look, my life has not been easy. I'm going to let you into something that I don't share that much. My life, there are things that I cannot do and never will be able to do without assistance. I could sit here and say, it's not fair, I need help getting dressed. It's not fair, I need help getting on and off the toilet, getting in my wheelchair. It's not fair that when I get into a vehicle, I have to ride in a child's car seat for safety. It's not fair that I get trapped in elevators. It's not fair that most people tower above me. It's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. But it's not fair is the most limiting disease on the planet. I think fairness is an illusion. I do not believe that you got something better than me. You got something different. And you didn't get something better than your neighbor sitting next to you. You got something different. In life, no one gets better cards. I believe it's how we play cards. And it looks like that maybe you have more, you have less than somebody. That's in your mind. It's how you're using what you are given. And I look for what's funny. Have I cried? Have I been upset? Sure. But I've learned that when you laugh, I've learned that when you use your resources, when you are willing to take a stand for your life by connecting, by treating yourself with respect, by looking for what's funny, when you do that, your life just seems to work better. But it's not always going to be easy. But easy is the precursor to atrophy. You want an easy life? Then get ready not to have your dreams. That doesn't mean that it can't be fun. Things can be difficult, but still be fun. So there I am. On the White House South Lawn, the helicopter is landing. The guards are barreling down on me. I am racing to the helicopter. The presidential door opens. The president steps out. He looks at me. And he says, Sean, good to see you, buddy. He steps down towards me. And he says, Sean, would you like me to push you into the White House today? I said, Mr. President, that would be an honor. The president started pushing me back to the White House. And this whole time I had seen my superior in the top window banging on the window, screaming, no! And I said, Mr. President, that's my boss. And he went, no. Oh, hey, Sean. Hey, buddy. And as if by magic, the doors to the South Lawn entrance opened, and I could hear playing ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So go ahead and sit back down. I've been doing this for 14 years. I have a record right now. We cannot break it. You guys, please do not break my streak, okay? I never leave an audience without getting 3 questions. But before we get those questions, you can ask me anything about my life, anything about what you learned, or anything about what you're going through. But I'll tell you, by a raise of hands, how many people got at least one thing out of my talk? At least one thing of value, okay? Put your hands down. How many people would like to take me home with you? You know, just kind of shove me in a backpack, you know? And then when you're having a bad day, you open it up and you're like, make me feel good. I have some good news. You can do that in a special way. And that is, I wrote the standing lessons in this book, Get Off Your Butt. Unfortunately, now Preston's he's gonna make you think that this was like a tactic of mine, but it's only because I had 2 suitcases, so it's the truth. I only have 60 copies of my book, and there's more than 60 people here. So, we're gonna take orders for the people that do not get the book, and we will ship you the book free shipping. Is that fair? Okay. So before I go, I wanna get 3 questions. You can ask me anything you want, but we cannot break the streak, and I will sit here silently in an awkward silence until we get 3 hands. Yes, right here in the white shirt. How did I become such a giant among men? I started studying giants. I started tracking giants. I started seeing where the giants live. What do they think about? What do they talk about? What do they eat? How do they move? Who are their friends? And with that, I became one. Hopefully, I became one. Next question. Yeah, over here. You can put your hand down as you're speaking. What were the actual foods? How did you know about that? Right. Gotcha. Sure, I'll repeat the question. So the question was, how did I change my diet and my exercise regime, and my body went from fracturing over 200 times, something as simple as sneezing would break a collarbone, to I haven't broken in 10 years. And the biggest thing is, I followed a program called the pH Miracle. You might want to write that down if that's of interest to you. It radically transformed my health. It may not be for you, but it worked for me. And I also started an exercise regimen and started load bearing, because when you put weight on your body through load bearing, you actually increase your bone density. Great question. Last question before we go. Yeah, in the back. Say it loud. Say it proud. Yeah. So what do I find to be the most effective self-talk? I want you to write this down, and it'll be the last thing I share with you. There's a phrase that I use that allows me to be the man that you see here today. It's very simple. I am infinite. I am infinite. I am not a speaker. I am not a therapist. I am not an author. I am not a healer. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. Those are all labels that all, I think, box you in. The only thing that I think has really helped me in my life is to believe that I am infinite. I am a part of something greater than Sean, the label, the box, the container. I am a part of you, and you are a part of me, and that's how we are able to work together. And I believe that if there's something I don't like about you, it's because it's a projection of myself. And the more I work on myself, the more I can love you. And I love each and every one of you, and I do not need a reason why. I can love you unconditionally for just being a human, and I absolutely have loved the time that I spent with you. Thank you so very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Woo!